The large meeting room was quiet except for the soft hum of machines. Ambassador Kyle Harrison stood at his desk, looking around at the hundreds of alien beings. They came from different planets, different worlds, all sitting in their special chairs designed for their unique bodies. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few glowed with strange colors. Kyle was the only human in the room. He felt nervous but tried not to show it. Earth had only joined the Galactic Council 5 years ago. The other species had been here for thousands of years. They knew how things worked. They had rules that went back further than human history, and right now, Kyle knew those rules were about to be used against his people. High Chancellor Vorath stood up from his seat. He was massive, almost 3 times the size of Kyle. His 4 arms moved as he spoke, and his scales caught the light from the dome above. When he talked, his voice filled the entire room without needing any microphone. "Humanity," Vorath said slowly. "You are here because you broke our laws. Your people keep moving into space that belongs to the Crithian Empire. We have been patient with you. We have tried to teach you our ways, but you refuse to listen. You refuse to follow the rules that every other species follows." Kyle took a deep breath. He had prepared for this moment. He knew what Vorath would say. The problem was simple. Humans had found empty planets and built homes on them. They had followed all the proper steps, filled out all the forms, and asked for permission. But the Crithian Empire said those planets were theirs, even though no one lived on them. "Chancellor," Kyle said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Those planets were empty when we arrived. No one was living there. No one was using them. We followed every rule in your guidebook. We did everything the right way." The room filled with noise. Aliens began talking to each other in their different languages. Some laughed. Others made angry sounds. Kyle understood why. The Galactic Council did not care if a planet was empty. They cared about who said it belonged to them first. And the Crithian Empire had said those planets were theirs a long time ago, long before humans even knew other planets existed. Vorath raised one of his hands, and the room went quiet again. "Your guidebook means nothing here, human. The Council only recognizes our ancient claims. Your people have 30 days to leave all those planets. Take your buildings. Take your people. Leave everything else behind. If you do not leave, we will consider it an act of war." Kyle felt his heart beating fast. War. The word hung in the air like a threat. He thought about all the families living on those planets. People who had left Earth to start new lives. Farmers who grew food. Scientists who studied the stars. Children who had been born there and knew no other home. How could he tell them they had to leave? He looked at the small screen on his desk. It showed pictures from the colonies. Happy faces, new buildings, green fields under alien sunsets. These people had worked so hard to build something good, and now, because of old rules and ancient claims, they were being told to abandon everything. Kyle made his decision. He had tried to be polite. He had tried to follow their rules. But sometimes rules were wrong. Sometimes being polite meant letting people push you around. And humans had learned long ago that you had to stand up for what was right, even when it was hard. "If that is your final answer," Kyle said quietly, "then I have nothing more to say to you." He picked up his papers, turned around, and walked toward the door. Behind him, the room exploded with sound. Aliens were shouting. Some were standing up. Others were pointing at him. But Kyle kept walking. No one walked out of a council meeting. No one simply left when the Chancellor was speaking. It was the biggest insult you could give. But Kyle did not care anymore. These beings thought humans would just obey. They thought Earth was weak because it was new to space travel. They thought humans would be scared of their big ships and their old empires. They were about to learn something important about humanity. When you pushed humans into a corner, when you threatened their families and their homes, they did not run away. They fought back. As Kyle reached the door, he heard Vorath shouting behind him. "The human walks away from the council. This is an outrage. This is an insult to every member here." Kyle stopped at the doorway. He turned around one last time and looked at all the aliens staring at him. Some looked angry. Some looked shocked. A few looked curious, like they wanted to see what would happen next. "You wanted to make this about power," Kyle said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "You wanted to show us that you are bigger and older and stronger. Fine. But remember something. You started this, not us." Then he walked through the door and it closed behind him. In the hallway outside, his hands were shaking. He had just made a choice that could lead to war. A war between tiny Earth and the massive Grithian Empire. A war that Earth would probably lose. But as Kyle walked back to his ship, he felt something else too. He felt proud. Humanity had come to the stars hoping to find friends. They had found bullies instead. And if there was one thing humans knew how to deal with, it was bullies. Kyle got on his ship and sent a message back to Earth. The message was simple. They refused our offer. They want us to leave our colonies or face war. I walked out of the meeting. We need to prepare for what comes next. On Earth, in the headquarters of the United Earth Defense Force, General Patricia Hayes read the message. She had expected this. The galaxy did not understand humans yet. They saw Earth's small number of ships and thought that meant weakness. They did not know about the secret projects. They did not know what humanity had been building in hidden factories around Jupiter and Saturn. Patricia picked up her phone and made a call. This is Hayes. Start Operation Ghost Protocol. I want all stealth ships ready to move in 24 hours. And get me Admiral Carter. We need to talk about what happens when the Crithians come looking for a fight. The war was coming. The Galactic Council had no idea what they had just started. They thought they were dealing with a young, weak species that would run away from a real threat. They were wrong. They were about to meet humans who were ready to defend their homes. And when humans fought for their homes, for their families, for their future, they did not fight fair. They fought to win. Admiral Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of her ship, the Valiant. Through the large window in front of her, she could see the stars. They looked peaceful, like tiny diamonds scattered across black cloth. But Lisa knew that peace would not last much longer. War was coming, and she would be right in the middle of it. The Valiant was the newest ship in Earth's fleet. It was not the biggest ship, and it was not the strongest, but it had something special. Technology that no other species in the galaxy had seen before. Technology that would surprise everyone. Around the Valiant, 11 other ships floated in space. Together they made up the First Fleet, Earth's best fighting force. Each ship had a crew of about 200 people. Each crew knew what was at stake. If they failed, the colonies would be destroyed. Millions of humans would lose their homes. Earth itself might be attacked. Admiral, we are getting a message from Earth Command, said Lieutenant Jake Brennan. He was young, only 25 years old, but he was good at his job. They want to know if we are ready. Lisa nodded. Tell them we are in position at the edge of the Helios cluster. All ships are ready. No sign of the enemy yet. Jake sent the message and then looked at Lisa. Admiral, do you think they will really come? Maybe they are just trying to scare us. Lisa gave him a sad smile. They will come, Jake. The Crithian Empire does not make threats they do not mean. They have been the most powerful empire in this part of the galaxy for 2,000 years. They are not used to anyone saying no to them. When we refused to leave the colonies, we insulted them. Now they need to punish us to show everyone else what happens when you disobey. Jake went quiet. Lisa understood how he felt. She had been in the military for 20 years. She had fought in small battles back when different groups on Earth were still fighting each other. She knew what war looked like. She knew how it felt to be afraid. But she also knew something else. She knew that humans were really good at surviving. For thousands of years, humans had faced impossible problems. Ice ages that should have killed them. Diseases that wiped out millions. Wars that destroyed whole cities. But humans always found a way to keep going. They adapted. They learned. They survived. And now they were about to do it again, this time against an alien empire. Captain Helen Torres is reporting in, said another officer. All fighter ships are loaded and ready. She says her pilots are excited to show the galaxy what Earth can do. Lisa smiled for real this time. Helen was one of the best pilots she had ever known. She had been flying since she was 16 years old, starting with old planes back on Earth. When humans went to space, Helen went with them. She had fought pirates near Mars and smugglers near Jupiter. If anyone could handle what was coming, it was Helen and her squadron. Good, Lisa said. Make sure all pilots know the plan. When the Crithians arrive, they are going to think we are weak. They are going to think this will be easy. We need to let them think that. Let them get confident. Let them make mistakes. The bridge crew nodded. They had all studied the plan 100 times. They knew exactly what to do. The key was the new stealth technology. Human scientists had spent 10 years developing it, working in secret. The technology let ships disappear from sensors. Not just regular sensors, but even the advanced ones the Crithians used. It was not perfect, The ships could still be seen with regular eyes if you got close enough. But in the darkness of space during a battle, that would not matter. Lisa walked to the window and looked out at the other ships. The Valiant, the Guardian, the Defender, the Liberty, and 8 others. 12 ships against what would probably be hundreds of Krithian warships. On paper, it looked impossible. Earth should lose this fight easily. But paper did not account for human creativity. It did not account for desperation. And it definitely did not account for the fact that humans really hated being told what to do. "Admiral, new contacts," Jake suddenly said, his voice tight. "Long-range sensors are picking up ships entering the system." Lots of ships. Lisa felt her heart beat faster. "Here we go, how many?" Jake looked at his screen, his face getting pale. "At least 300, Admiral. Maybe more. They are coming in fast." The bridge went silent. Everyone was thinking the same thing. 300 ships against 12. It was not a battle. It was an execution. The Krithians had brought enough force to destroy Earth's entire fleet 10 times over. They wanted to make sure there was no chance of losing. They wanted to send a message to every human colony in space. Obey or die. But Lisa did not feel afraid. She felt calm. This was what they had prepared for. This was why they had spent years building these ships, training these crews, developing technology in secret. The Krithians thought they were smart, bringing overwhelming force. They thought it guaranteed victory. They were wrong. "All ships, battle stations," Lisa ordered. "Turn off all unnecessary lights. Minimum power to engines. I want us to look as weak and scared as possible. Let them think we are about to run away." The crew moved quickly, following their training. Lights dimmed throughout the ship. The hum of the engines got quieter. On the outside, the Valiant and the other human ships looked small and helpless, like mice facing a pack of wolves. "Jake, get me a direct connection to all ships," Lisa said. "I want to talk to every captain." A moment later, Jake nodded. "You are connected, Admiral." Lisa took a deep breath. "This is Admiral Carter. In a few minutes, the Krithian fleet is going to arrive. They are going to see our 12 ships, and they are going to laugh. They are going to think this is the easiest battle they ever fought. Let them think that. Because when we are done, they are going to learn something important. They are going to learn that humans do not give up. They are going to learn that we protect our own. And they are going to learn that threatening Earth was the worst mistake they ever made. All ships prepare to engage. And remember, we are not just fighting for ourselves. We are fighting for every human who ever looked at the stars and dreamed of living among them." Through the window, Lisa could see the Krithian fleet starting to appear. Hundreds of ships, their hulls gleaming with power, their weapons already charging. They came like a storm, confident and unstoppable. They had no idea what was about to happen. They had no idea that the small, weak humans were about to teach the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. Fleet Commander Zareth sat in his command chair and watched the human ships on his screen. He was a veteran of 50 battles. He had destroyed rebels, crushed pirates, and conquered 3 entire star systems. He had never lost a fight, and today would not be the first time. His ship, the Eternal Dominion, was the pride of the Krithian Empire. It was so big that it took 5 minutes to walk from one end to the other. It had enough weapons to destroy a small moon. And it was just one ship out of the 300 he commanded. This was not a battle. This was a demonstration, a message to all humans that the Krithian Empire could not be challenged. Lord Commander, his assistant Kelris, said, "We have completed our scan of the human fleet. They have only 12 ships, small ones. Our intelligence says each ship has about 200 crew members." Zareth laughed. 12 ships? Against 300? These humans are either very brave or very stupid. Maybe both. He looked at the screen again, studying the human vessels. They looked scared. Their lights were dim. Their engines were barely running. They were trying to hide, trying to look small. "Lord Commander," Kelris said carefully, "our intelligence reports mention that these ships may have unusual weapons. Perhaps we should be careful and careful," Zareth interrupted. "Kelris, look at them. They are terrified. They know they cannot win. They are probably hoping we will show mercy and let them run away. But we will not." The Council gave them a chance to leave peacefully. They refused. "Now we will remove them by force. All ships prepare weapons. I want every gun aimed at those human vessels. When I give the order, I want all of them destroyed in the first attack. Leave nothing behind." The bridge crew moved quickly. On screens all around the room, Zareth could see his other ships getting into position. 300 warships all ready to fire at once. The humans would not even have time to run. It would be over in seconds. All ships ready, Lord Commander, an officer reported. Waiting for your order. Zareth smiled. Fire. Space lit up like a second sun had appeared. 300 ships fired at once. Plasma weapons, missiles, energy beams, all heading toward the 12 human ships. The barrage was so intense that it looked like a wave of pure light moving through the darkness. Nothing could survive that much firepower. Nothing. And then something impossible happened. The human ships vanished. One moment they were there, sitting in space like easy targets. The next moment they were gone. Not destroyed, not exploded, just gone as if they had never existed at all. What happened? Zareth stood up from his chair. Where did they go? Kelrus was staring at his instruments, his face confused. Lord Commander, they disappeared from all our sensors. We cannot track them. It is like they do not exist anymore. That is impossible. Check the sensors again. They must be damaged. Ships cannot just disappear. But even as Zareth said those words, he knew something was wrong. Very wrong. The humans had not run away. They had not been destroyed. They had hidden, but how? The Crithian Empire had the best sensor technology in the galaxy. Their instruments could detect a single small ship from halfway across a solar system. How could 12 large ships just vanish? The answer came 30 seconds later. An explosion ripped through one of the Crithian warships. Then another. Then 3 more. The human ships were attacking, but Zareth could not see them. His sensors showed nothing. His screens showed nothing. But his ships were dying. Return fire, Zareth shouted. Shoot at anything that moves. Use visual sensors. Use everything. The Crithian fleet began firing wildly in all directions. They shot at empty space, hoping to hit something, anything. But the human ships were like ghosts. They appeared for just a second, fired their weapons, and then disappeared again before anyone could shoot back. And their weapons were different too. The missiles moved fast, faster than anything Zareth had seen before, and they went right through the Crithian shields as if the shields were not even there. Lord Commander, we have lost 30 ships, Kelrus reported, his voice shaking. Our shields are not stopping their weapons. I do not understand how this is possible. Zareth watched in horror as his perfect formation fell apart. His ships were trying to group together for protection, but that just made them easier targets. The human ships moved between them like predators hunting prey. They knew exactly where to strike. They knew exactly when to attack and when to hide. This was not a battle. This was a slaughter. But the humans were doing the slaughtering, not the Crithians. Everything Zareth had believed about this fight was wrong. The humans were not weak. They were not scared. They were dangerous. Very dangerous. 50 ships lost, Kelrus said. 60, 70. Lord Commander, we need to retreat. We cannot fight what we cannot see, Zareth wanted to argue. He wanted to stay and fight. Retreating was shameful. Retreating meant admitting defeat. But as he watched another 10 ships explode in quick succession, he knew Kelrus was right. If they stayed, the entire fleet would be destroyed. He had brought 300 ships to crush 12 human vessels. Now, less than 20 minutes into the battle, he had lost almost half his fleet, and he still had not managed to destroy even one human ship. All ships, Zareth said, his voice bitter. Retreat. Emergency jump to the rally point. Now, the Crithian ships began to flee. They jumped into hyperspace as fast as they could, desperate to escape. Some ships did not make it. The humans destroyed them just as they were trying to leave. It was chaos. It was humiliation. It was the worst defeat the Crithian Empire had suffered in 200 years. As the Eternal Dominion jumped away, Zareth sat back down in his chair. His hands were shaking. He had lost 140 ships. Thousands of crew members were dead, and he still did not fully understand what had happened. The humans had technology the Crithians did not know about. Stealth technology that made ships invisible, weapons that went through shields, tactics that turned a smaller force into an unstoppable threat. Kelrus spoke quietly. Lord Commander, what do we tell the Council? Zareth closed his eyes. He knew what would happen when the Council learned about this. He would be blamed. He would be punished. But more importantly, the entire galaxy would know. They would know that the mighty Crithian Empire had been beaten by a tiny human fleet. The humans had sent a message today. A message that would change everything. They had shown the galaxy that Earth was not weak. Earth was not afraid, and Earth would fight for its people no matter what the cost. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Every species, every government, every small colony heard the same story. The Crithian Empire, one of the oldest and most powerful forces in known space, had sent 300 warships to destroy a small human fleet. And the Crithians had lost, badly. At first, many beings did not believe it. It had to be a lie, they said. A trick, a mistake in the reports. But then the recordings came. Video footage from the battle, captured by sensor stations and trading ships in nearby systems. Everyone could see it with their own eyes. The Crithian fleet arriving with overwhelming force. The human ships vanishing like magic. The chaos that followed. The Crithians running away, leaving behind wreckage and bodies. On Station Harmony, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. The large meeting room was different now. Before, it had been full of confident voices and proud posturing. Now it was quiet, almost fearful. The representatives looked at each other with worry in their eyes. If the mighty Crithian Empire could be defeated so easily, what did that mean for everyone else? Ambassador Kyle Harrison stood at the human podium again. But this time no one interrupted him. No one laughed. No one dismissed him as a representative of a weak, unimportant species. They all watched him carefully, wondering what he would say. Wondering what Earth wanted now that it had shown its strength. Members of the Council, Kyle began, his voice calm and clear. We did not want this fight. We came to the stars hoping to find friends. We hoped to learn from older, wiser species. We hoped to build a future where all beings could work together in peace. That is still what we want. He paused, looking around the room. But you did not give us peace. You gave us an ultimatum. You told us to abandon our homes or face destruction. You treated us like children who needed to be punished for not following rules we never agreed to. So we showed you something important. We showed you what happens when you threaten humanity. High Chancellor Vorath sat in his seat looking smaller than before. His scales, which had shimmered so brightly just days ago, now looked dull and gray. He stood up slowly, his forearms hanging at his sides. Human, what do you want from us? Do you want us to bow to you? Do you want to take our place in the council? Kyle shook his head. No, Chancellor. We do not want power over you. We do not want to rule anyone. We just want respect. We want you to recognize that humanity has the right to exist, the right to build homes on empty planets, the right to explore space, the right to defend ourselves when threatened. We are not asking for your permission. We are telling you that we are here, and we are not going anywhere. Another representative stood up. She was from the Venari species, small beings with silver skin and large eyes. Ambassador Harrison, she said in a soft voice, you have proven that Earth is strong, but strength alone does not make you right. The territories you claim belong to the Crithian Empire by ancient law, laws that existed long before your species left your home planet. Kyle turned to face her. With respect, Counselor, those ancient laws were written by empires to benefit empires. They were written to divide the galaxy among the powerful, leaving nothing for species that came later. Those laws say that a planet belongs to whoever claims it first, even if no one lives there, even if no one has visited it in 1,000 years. That is not law. That is greed. The room filled with quiet murmurs. Kyle had said something that many species had thought but never dared to speak out loud. The Galactic Council's rules did favor the old empires. They made it almost impossible for younger species to expand or grow. But no one had challenged those rules before because challenging them meant challenging species that had massive military forces. Until now. Until humanity had shown that military force did not guarantee victory. Until Earth had proven that clever tactics and new technology could beat even the largest fleets. Another representative stood. This one was from the Talrix Consortium, a group of trading species. He was tall and thin with green skin and 3 eyes. Ambassador Harrison, he said, what you are proposing would change everything. If we allow humans to keep planets claimed by the Crithian Empire, then other species will want the same rights. The entire structure of the council could collapse. Kyle looked at him directly. Then maybe it should collapse. Maybe it is time for new rules, rules that are fair to everyone, not just to empires that conquered their neighbors thousands of years ago. Rules that say an empty planet can be settled by whoever gets there first. Rules that encourage exploration and growth instead of endless wars over ancient claims. The room erupted in noise. Some representatives were shouting in agreement. Others were arguing against the idea. A few sat silently, thinking about what Kyle had said. It was chaos, but it was the kind of chaos that meant change was possible. The kind of chaos that happened when old ideas were challenged by new ones. Vorath raised one of his arms and the room gradually became quiet again. Human, he said slowly, You speak bold words, but bold words are easy. Keeping the peace you talk about is much harder. What guarantee do we have that Earth will not use its new technology to conquer others? What stops you from becoming the next empire? Kyle smiled slightly. You are right to be concerned, Chancellor. Power can corrupt. But humanity learned something important in our history. We learned that the strongest nations are not the ones that conquer the most territory. They are the ones that build the strongest friendships. We do not want to be an empire. We want to be partners. We want to trade. We want to share knowledge. We want to work together to solve problems that no single species can solve alone. And to prove that, Kyle continued, Earth is willing to share some of our technology with the Council. Not our military technology, but other innovations. Medical treatments, agricultural methods, engineering techniques, things that can help all species live better lives. All we ask in return is recognition. Recognition that humanity deserves a place at this table as equals. The offer surprised everyone. Species did not usually share their technology, especially not after winning a military victory. Usually winners took whatever they wanted and demanded tribute from the losers. But here was Earth, offering to share and asking only for respect in return. The Venari representative spoke again. This is a generous offer, Ambassador, but it raises a question. If humanity is willing to share this much after one battle, what else are you capable of? What other surprises do you have? Kyle's expression became serious. I hope none of you ever have to find out. We showed you our stealth technology and our new weapons because you forced us to. Because you threatened our people and left us no choice. But we have other capabilities. Other technologies we have kept secret. And we will continue to keep them secret, as long as no one threatens Earth again. It was a polite warning, delivered with a smile. But everyone understood the message. Earth had won with just 12 ships. What could they do with their full fleet? What other surprises were hiding in human laboratories and shipyards? Slowly, one by one, the representatives began to nod. They had no choice, really. The old rules had been challenged and they had failed to defend them. The Crithian Empire had lost its authority. Now it was time for something new. Time to accept that the galaxy had changed. Time to accept that humanity was here to stay. 3 months after the Battle of Helios, as people were now calling it, the galaxy looked very different. The Crithian Empire had officially withdrawn all claims to the disputed territories. The Galactic Council had recognized human sovereignty over 23 colony worlds. Trade agreements were being negotiated with a dozen different species, and every major power was suddenly very interested in becoming friends with Earth. But Admiral Lisa Carter was not celebrating. She stood in the observation room of Unity Station, Earth's newest space station, and watched workers building new ships. These vessels were different from the ones that had fought at Helios. They were bigger, stronger, and they incorporated technology from several alien species who were now eager to share their knowledge with humanity. The victory had brought opportunities, but it had also brought responsibilities. Earth was no longer a small player that others could ignore. Now every decision humanity made would be watched carefully by the entire galaxy. Every move would be analyzed. Every new ship would be counted. The pressure was enormous. Admiral Lieutenant Jake Brennan walked up behind her holding a tablet. We just received a message from the Vorlan Collective. They want to know if we would be interested in conducting joint military exercises. They are offering to share some of their shield technology if we agree. Lisa raised an eyebrow. The Vorlans? They voted against us in the council. They supported the Crithian position. Jake grinned. That was before we won. Now everyone wants to be on our side. The Talrix Consortium is offering favorable trade deals. The Venari are asking if we need help setting up medical facilities on our colonies. Even the Crithians are trying to negotiate a peace treaty with better terms than before. Lisa shook her head slowly. It is amazing how quickly attitudes change when you prove you can defend yourself. Before the battle, we were nobody, just another young species trying to find our place. Now we are the species everyone wants as an ally. So what should I tell the Vorlans? Jake asked. Tell them we are interested, Lisa said, but make it clear that any partnership will be based on genuine cooperation, not fear. We do not want allies who only respect us because they are afraid of our weapons. We want allies who respect us because they believe in the same values we do. Jake nodded and walked away to send the message. Lisa turned back to the window. Below the station, she could see Earth, the blue and green planet where humanity had been born. It looked peaceful from up here. Beautiful. But Lisa knew that peace was fragile. It always had been. Throughout human history, peace had required constant work, constant vigilance, and now that peace extended beyond one planet to dozens of worlds scattered across space, a door opened behind her, and Captain Helen Torres walked in. She looked tired but happy. Her squadron had been conducting training exercises for new pilots, teaching them the tactics that had worked so well at Helios. "The Admiral wanted to see me?" Helen asked. Lisa smiled. "Yes, I wanted to thank you personally. Your squadron performed perfectly during the battle. Every single one of your pilots came home safely. That is because of your training and leadership." Helen looked embarrassed. "We just did our jobs, Admiral. Any good pilot could have done the same." "No," Lisa said firmly. "Not just any pilot could have handled that situation. The Crithians had 300 ships and we had 12. The pressure was incredible. But you and your people stayed calm. You followed the plan perfectly. You made the difference between victory and disaster." Helen was quiet for a moment, then she spoke softly. "Admiral, do you think they will come back? The Crithians? Do you think they will try again?" It was a good question. Lisa had been thinking about it constantly. "Honestly, I do not know. The Crithians lost badly, but they are still a huge empire. They still have thousands of ships. If they wanted revenge, they could cause us serious problems. But I do not think they will try. Not soon anyway, why not?" Helen asked. "Because they are afraid," Lisa explained. "Not just afraid of our weapons, though that is part of it. They are afraid of what we represent. We are a young species that refuse to accept the old rules. We challenged the way things had always been done. And we won. Other species are watching us now. Some of them have probably been unhappy with the Council's rules for a long time, but they were too scared to speak up. Now they have seen that it is possible to challenge the old powers and survive. That is more dangerous to the Crithians than any weapon we could build." Helen nodded slowly. "So we started a revolution without meaning to." "Exactly," Lisa said. "And now we have to figure out how to manage it. We need to be strong enough that no one attacks us again, but not so aggressive that we become the thing we fought against. We need to be confident but not arrogant. We need to make allies but not enemies. It is a difficult balance." They stood together in silence for a while, watching the construction work continue on the new ships. Finally, Helen spoke again. "Do you ever think about the fact that we almost lost? If the stealth technology had not worked as well as it did, if the Crithians had been just a little bit smarter, we could all be dead right now." Lisa nodded. "I think about it all the time. We got lucky in some ways. The Crithians underestimated us. They were overconfident. They did not take us seriously as a threat. But luck is not enough. We won because we prepared, because scientists worked for years developing that stealth technology, because engineers built ships specifically designed for the kind of fight we needed, because people like you trained so hard that you could execute complex tactics under pressure. Luck helped, but preparation made victory possible. And we need to keep preparing," Helen said. "Because next time, whoever challenges us will not make the same mistakes the Crithians made." "Exactly. That is why we are building these new ships, why we are forming alliances, why we are training new pilots and developing new technology. The Battle of Helios was just the beginning. We proved that humanity deserves a place in the galaxy. Now we need to prove that we can keep that place, that we can contribute something valuable, that we are worth having as neighbors and friends." Jake came back into the room. "Admiral, I just got confirmation from Earth Command. They want you to attend a ceremony next week. They are awarding medals to everyone who fought at Helios." Lisa sighed. "More ceremonies. I feel like we have been to dozens already." "People need heroes, Admiral," Helen said with a small smile. "They need to believe that when things get difficult, brave people will step up and protect them. That is what you represent now. Whether you like it or not." Lisa knew Helen was right, but it still felt strange. She had joined the military to serve, not to be famous. But fame came with the territory now. The Battle of Helios had made celebrities out of everyone who participated. Their faces were on news broadcasts across human space. Children played games pretending to be stealth ship pilots. It was overwhelming sometimes, but it was also inspiring. All across Earth and the colonies, young people were applying to join the military, or study engineering, or become scientists. They wanted to be part of humanity's future among the stars. They wanted to help protect and build what earlier generations had started. That enthusiasm, that energy, that hope, those were the real victories of the battle. not just defeating an enemy fleet, but inspiring an entire species to reach higher and dream bigger. 6 months had passed since the battle that changed everything. Kyle Harrison stood in front of a large window in his office on Earth, looking up at the night sky. Somewhere up there, beyond the clouds and atmosphere, were the colonies, the homes that people had built, the communities that had almost been destroyed. They were safe now. For the moment, at least, his assistant Danny Wu knocked on the door and came in. "Ambassador, the transport is ready. The delegation from the Venari Republic has arrived. They are waiting for you in the main conference room." Kyle nodded. "Thank you, Danny. I will be there in a moment." He took one last look at the stars, then followed Danny down the hall. The building was busy with activity. People moved quickly between rooms carrying documents and tablets. Meetings were happening everywhere. This was the new reality. Earth was no longer isolated. Every day brought new visitors, new opportunities, new challenges. The Venari delegation was waiting in a large room with comfortable chairs and a table full of refreshments. There were 5 of them, small beings with silver skin that seemed to glow slightly in the light. Their leader, Ambassador Celine, stood up when Kyle entered. "Ambassador Harrison," Celine said in her soft voice, "thank you for meeting with us. We have traveled far to discuss an important matter." "Please sit," Kyle said, gesturing to the chairs. "You are always welcome here. What can Earth do for the Venari Republic?" Celine sat down and the other Venari did the same. "We come with a request," she began, "but also with an offer. As you know, the Venari Republic is small. We have only 8 worlds and our military is not strong. For many years we have survived by staying neutral, by not taking sides in galactic politics. But recent events have shown us that neutrality may not be enough anymore." Kyle listened carefully. He could guess where this was going, but he wanted to hear them say it. "We want to form an alliance with Earth," Celine continued. "A mutual defense pact. If anyone threatens the Venari Republic, Earth would help us. And if anyone threatens Earth, we would help you. We know we cannot offer much in military strength, but we have other things. Advanced medical technology, agricultural knowledge, scientific research. We believe we can benefit each other." Kyle thought about this carefully. The Venari were good people, peaceful, intelligent, creative. An alliance with them would bring benefits, but it would also bring responsibilities. If Earth agreed to defend the Venari, that meant getting involved if someone attacked them. It meant Earth's military might have to fight in places far from home, for reasons that might not directly involve human interests. "Ambassador Celine," Kyle said slowly, "your offer is generous and I appreciate the trust you are showing in humanity. But before I can give you an answer, I need to be honest with you about something. Earth is still very young in galactic terms. We have only been in space for a short time. We are still learning how everything works. An alliance is a serious commitment. If we agree, we have to mean it. We have to be willing to follow through even when it is difficult." Celine nodded. "We understand, Ambassador. That is exactly why we want to ally with Earth. Other species make promises easily and break them just as easily, but humans seem different. You fought for your colonies when it would have been easier to abandon them. You stood up to the Crithian Empire when everyone said you should submit. You keep your word. That is rare in the galaxy, and it is valuable." Kyle felt the weight of her words. This was what the Battle of Helios had really been about. Not just winning a fight, but establishing Earth's character, showing the galaxy what humanity stood for. And now other species were responding to that. They wanted to be associated with those values. They wanted allies they could trust. "I will take your proposal to our government," Kyle said. "I cannot promise what they will decide, but I will recommend that we seriously consider your offer. The Venari Republic has always conducted itself with honor, and Earth values that." Celine smiled. "That is all we ask. We do not expect an immediate answer. Take your time. Discuss it with your leaders. We will wait." After the Venari delegation left, Kyle sat alone in his office thinking. This was just the beginning. Other species would come with similar offers. Some would be genuine, like the Venari. Others would just be trying to use Earth's newfound strength for their own purposes. Humanity would have to learn to tell the difference. They would have to navigate complex political situations that had been developing for thousands of years before Earth even knew aliens existed. But Kyle felt confident. Humans were good at adapting. They learned quickly, and most importantly, they remembered where they came from. Earth had not become powerful by conquering others or stealing resources. They had become powerful through innovation, through working together, through refusing to give up when things got hard. Those same qualities would serve them well in galactic politics. His communicator beeped. It was a message from Admiral Carter. "Kyle, I thought you should know. We just completed the first test of our new hybrid ships, the ones that combine human stealth technology with Vorlan shields and Talric's weapon systems. The results exceeded all expectations. These ships are going to change everything." Kyle smiled. That was good news. But he also knew it came with a warning. Every advance in technology made Earth more powerful, but it also made Earth more responsible for how that power was used. With great strength came great temptation to use it. History was full of civilizations that started with good intentions, but became corrupted by their own power. Earth would have to be different. They would have to stay true to their values even when it was hard, even when using force would be easier than negotiating, even when taking what they wanted would be simpler than asking for it. That was the real test humanity faced now. Not could they defend themselves, but could they remain good people while having the power to be otherwise? Kyle looked at the picture on his desk. It showed his family back on Earth. His wife, his 2 children, his elderly father. They represented what he was really fighting for. Not territory, not power, not influence, but the right for ordinary people to live their lives in peace, to raise their children, to pursue their dreams, to look up at the stars and know that humanity had a place there. The Galactic Council had wanted a fight. They had expected Earth to either run away or be destroyed. Instead, they got something they never anticipated. They got a species that refused to quit, a species that would rather stand and fight impossible odds than abandon their principles. A species that could be beaten down but never broken. And now, 6 months later, the galaxy was still adjusting to this new reality. Old powers were being challenged. Ancient rules were being questioned. Younger species were finding their voices. Change was happening, and Earth was at the center of it. Kyle sent a message back to Admiral Carter. "Excellent work, Lisa. Keep pushing forward. But remember, every weapon we build is a tool we might have to use someday. Let us make sure we only use them when we absolutely must. Let us prove to the galaxy that strength and wisdom can exist together." He stood up and walked back to the window. Outside, the sun was setting, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and red. In a few hours, the stars would come out. Those same stars that humans had watched for thousands of years, dreaming of what might be out there. Now they knew. Now they were part of it. And they had proven beyond any doubt that they belonged. The Krithian Empire had wanted to put humanity in its place. They had wanted to teach the young, upstart species a lesson about respecting their elders. Instead, they had learned a lesson themselves. They had learned that age was not the same as wisdom, that size was not the same as strength, and that sometimes the species you underestimate is exactly the one that will surprise you the most. Earth had sent them the kind of fight they would regret asking for, not because humans were cruel or violent, but because humans understood something fundamental about survival. When you fight for your home, when you fight for your family, when you fight for your future, you fight with everything you have. You find reserves of courage and creativity that you never knew existed. You become more than you were before. And that was what humanity had done. They had become more than anyone expected, more than even they themselves had known they could be. The journey was far from over. Many challenges still lay ahead. But now at least they were facing those challenges as equals, as a species that had earned its place among the stars.